Welcome back to another SuperCoach video with me, JD. We are going to go through how I'm thinking about my team and the structures today. If you follow me on Twitter, I put out something this week to the effect of, I'm not really sure what I'm doing anymore. And it's a very awkward spot to be put in as a content creator that is here to be competitive rather than entertaining. That's a conscious choice that I make in the videos that I put out, and it's a very confusing preseason. R0 is going to take a lot of that away this week, which I don't know is maybe a good thing for me, but at the same time, I think it's only right to share my confusion and frustration, because I'm sure a lot of you are going through the same thing, and talk through how I'm thinking about some of the stuff, the decisions that I'm weighing through and will be thinking about over the next week, and then putting together a couple of example sides, hopefully turning some of that theory into practice. Hopefully that makes sense. So we'll go through a couple of sides. We'll go through, I think, the big decisions I'm grappling with at the moment, which is more around structure than players. And then, we'll put it all together into how I'm building or thinking about building some sides. This is still very fluid for me. And obviously, things are going to change as teams come out. We get another week's worth of data, all that type of stuff. It's exciting, don't get me wrong, because it feels open. I don't feel like there is a template or a strategy that someone can give you and say, this is the answer, because we haven't dealt with this before. The extra trades, the round zero, and then just the sheer amount of value that has popped up this year. And that really is the change from previous years. There's been value picks, don't get me wrong, and a fair few good ones that have worked out, but not as many as what we've seen over the last couple of weeks really come to the forefront, with more being added rather than being taken away over the weekend. Usually you start with lots that could be good and they get whittled away, but it seems like almost all of them are putting their hands up and look really solid, and it's hard to find really obvious flaws or knocks for some of these players. So how you navigate a season where that's the case, I think, is part of the challenge and part of what needs to be figured out, and what we'll discuss today. But that's really been the big change for me. I mean, if you looked at my last strategy video, I went through with extra trades, it's all about finding value. But there's so much value now that I actually think that might change things for me a little bit and even push me back the other way, which is weird. You'd think that it would actually reinforce that strategy. I think I might push back against it. All right, so what I started to do earlier today in Paint was just put together where I think I'm comfortable or what I think my structure is, and then try to highlight where the question marks are for me in red. So I'll just talk through this quickly and then we'll use it in practice. I won't go too deep on the theory, but effectively here, what I'm saying is in defense, I think I want 4 premiums at a minimum, and that's based on how many rookies I think I'm comfortable with fielding, or combination of field and bench. I think I'm happy with 3 rookies. I might be good with 1 on field, the rest are on bench, and I think that's about where the cutoff point is. So that would be something like Reed, Caulfield, Gibcus, for example. And then I think it starts to drop away, even though Pink and Phillips might be good options. But those 3 I'd be comfortable with, drop away. The 5th spot here is where I'm up in the air a little bit about what I do. So I thought we weren't going to get Zach Williams round 0. That sounded like it was going to be the case based on the whispers that were coming out, but Voss has come out and said that he is playing round 0. So maybe this isn't as much of a question mark as it is. I think the standard build will be 4 premium defenders, Zach Williams, and then 3 rookies. I'm probably going to toy with pushing Zach Williams to potentially D6, and we'll see what that looks like as well. But that's kind of how I'm thinking about defense at the moment. And there's enough premiums I like in defense that I think I can make this work. If you were really unsure on defender premiums, then maybe you'd be shying away from this a little bit. In the midfield, I'm not as confident on mid premiums. I think it's actually a weaker year for that in some regards, which I know there's a lot of people that really like a lot of them, but there's at least a couple I can find. So let's say 2 of them I'm confident on. I've got at least 2 rookies on field that I'm comfortable with in Sanders and McKercher, and potentially a third in Huswaite. And that's what that question mark is on the bottom, is that a rookie like a Huswaite, or is it more like a mid-pricer like a Berry or a Bonner, or are we actually pushing into another mid-pricer or premium in the midfield? And I could see people running definitely 4 premiums in the midfield. I'll play around with a more guns and rookies approach like that. For me, I think I want to run at least 2 mid-prices. So I really like Nick Martin, as you can probably imagine. And then, a Crouch or a Wines are quite appealing as well. And I mean, even Steele, if you like Steele, I think he kind of fits in that mid-price or a value premium range. Kind of nomenclature, changes how you talk about these things. But those types of picks is what I'm thinking about in that mid-pricer point. And then that other question mark there is like, yeah, it could be a third premium, it could be a third mid-pricer. So that's how I'm thinking about the midfield broadly. In the rucks, the one premium that I'm locking in here is gone. I think he hasn't done anything to suggest he shouldn't be in the top 3, 4, 5 rucks this year and at his price. I think you take that. Obviously, we'll see in round 0, but that I can't see myself building a side without Gone in for now. And then the question mark here is a really interesting one, because you'd think this would be one mid-pricer, right, in Grundy or Cherry. And I've definitely played around with both of those, but I actually think the one thing that I like to do is test my own assumptions. And one of the things that we've assumed all preseason is that these, Gone, Grundy, Cherry, they're such good value that you should have 2 of those 3. And I actually wonder now if there's enough good value elsewhere that I should retest that assumption, instead of having Grundy or Cherry actually pay up for a premium ruck, so something like a Marshall or an English. And that's why that question mark's there. I don't think it's as obvious anymore. It would never be a rookie. I think Naismith is really the only viable one that we've got at the moment, and to play him on field, you'd have to be certain Nankervis is going to be out for a long period of time, and even then risky. So yeah, I think retesting my assumptions there on who that second ruck is alongside Gone. And then in the forward line, there's at least 2 rookies I'm confident playing on field. So that's the green along the bottom there. So Reed, which I was starting to waver on a little bit, but he definitely showed enough on the weekend. And then Sexton, I mean, maybe even Wilson puts his hand up as a third on-field rookie, or a Lazaro, and that could be that question mark there. Do you play 3 forward rookies? But at least two I'm confident on. And then, 3 mid-prices. I can't see myself getting away from that at all. The question mark here could be even playing a Primo. So if Flanders comes good in round 0, you could put Flanders in there, plus maybe 3 mid-prices, something like that. Or it could be three mid-prices and 3 rookies, some version of that. So I think this is kind of the template for where I'm comfortable at, where I like picks, where I like rookies, and then where the question marks are on my side. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how this could come together in your own teams, how you could use this to build a side. So with that said, what I wanted to start with and show first was more of a guns and rookies side. So this is probably more of the typical or traditional SuperCoach style team that we'll start with, and then I'll probably move to more of a value-based side. And given the feedback on my last team video, I assume it's going to get pretty poor feedback again, but that's okay. I'm happy to show at least some of my ideas, then I'll keep iterating and changing them as we get more information, get more news, and as I play around with different things. So let's start with that guns and rookie side. So Dacos, I've been on all preseason. I think actually, I'll show the other little spreadsheet in a second that I've got. So Dacos, I've been on all preseason. He's priced at 116. I think he can go 120 plus, which makes him value. Yes, he has the buy, but he's a vice captain or captain option every week for mine, and absolutely going to be D1 at the end of the year unless injury derails him or some miracle happens. So I'm very comfortable paying up for Dacos. No way I wouldn't. Sicily, I don't think's picked this year. Tom Stewart, I think, is the next one where, look, he could regress just based with age, but the cat should see more ball and defense this year. He's going to continue to be 1A down there. I think he's relatively safe. There's some value built into his price just with that injury last year. With that said, he's been injury inconsistent a lot of years, but has the good buy, whatever it may be. I'm happy with him. Luke Ryan is no thanks. Dan Houston was one that's picking up popularity. It's probably also no thanks for me. Next, I'll go Harry Sheasel. So, he did 100 in his first year, and he looks to have the role again this year. Yes, they're sharing it with the third halfback now, rather than it just being him plus Ebel. It's him plus McKercher plus Fisher, but I still think he's going to command most of the ball down there and be put into good positions throughout games. So I can absolutely see him improving on this 100 and going into the 105 to 110 range. So very comfortable with that at his price and given the buy that he has as well. And then, yeah, there's other picks that I like Short, if he didn't have the bye, would be interesting. But going down, Whitfield would be interesting if he didn't have the bye. But yeah, Hayden Young for me has the midfield role. I think the scoring's going to be maybe a little bit inconsistent and not as good as we would hoped, just given that Fife is now joining that midfield rotation. It looks like he'll be the main CBA mid, probably alongside Sarong. I think it looks like Brayshaw gets pushed out. So Young, I'm still pretty comfortable with that he well outdoes this 94 that he's priced at and goes into the 100 plus range, which makes him value. He has a good buy. So yeah, we're happy with these 4 premium defenders. And once again, going back to this structure, where is it? Here we go. There are your 4 premium defenders. All right, so we're keeping with the guns and rookies approach. So I still think, even though he's not a gun or a rookie, Williams is effectively top rookie priced and has put up premium numbers before, so you put him in there. And then for the rookies, I'm not going to go anything too crazy. I'll just go with some standard ones here in Caulfield, Gibkiss, and Reed. I think Reed actually may be my favorite choice of these now, but that's probably just the bomber homer in me. His injury history is still a concern. Gibkiss's injury history is a concern. Caulfield and Williams' injury history, all a concern. It's maybe part of the reason why I don't want to start more than these. Like, I'm happy to keep Pink and Phillips not in my team, because if, like, there's a chance one of these 4 goes down early on, and then I'd want to pick up one of those other defender rookies from these guys. If I already had them and I had to have Phillips and Pink then on my bench and be forced to play like 2 of Reed, Gibkiss or Caulfield, who's not in, whichever one of those didn't get injured, like on field, I don't know if I'd like that as much. So yeah, I think I want to limit my bench to that point, but you know, things could change. All right, then moving into the midfield. So we're going to pick more of the premium side here rather than the value guys. We will pick 2, which fits with my structure, but then we'll go into a more premium format. I would love Marcus in this team, but we're going to go with Jordan Dawson, who's not someone that I've been big on, but I know a lot of others have. And I'm going to pick him over someone like a Goulden, just because he doesn't have the bye. So, yeah, Dawson, Butters, LDU. I mean, Butters and LDU I've had in my teams all preseason. Am I worried a little bit from what I saw on the weekend? Sure, but I'm just trying to push that deep down. You know, preseason games, we don't consider primos in preseason games. Their scores don't matter. As long as the roles are good, it's fine. Butters' role, obviously a bit hard to say because he didn't play more than 1 or 2 CBAs, but he's been in their midfield all preseason, apart from, you know, obviously on the weekend. And then LDU still led CBAs despite not scoring anything and having 6 frees against. I think the biggest concern I have with LDU now is whether or not North, with that North ball, are actually speeding up the game enough that they have fewer stoppages, and that would impact his score negatively. That's my only concern really with LDU, but the preseason score, not as much of a worry. His ownership's only at 11% now. I mean, yeah, injury concern, I guess, as well. I can see why people would be off him, but like Goulden's 38% now, and yes, he was good, and he's going to be good, but he's got the bye, and he shares it with Grundy and Dacos. That's very interesting to me. I don't know, if you like Goulden, put him in. If he's your boy, back him in. All right, and then so as you can imagine, my 2 mid prices. I'm going to go Martin, and I'll go Wines for a bit of flavor rather than Crouch. Maybe just because Wines is a bit cheaper. Maybe it's because he seems to have the number 1 CBA role on that side rather than number 3. Or actually, Crouch was, I think, number 1 on the weekend too, but they rested players and stuff. Maybe his time on ground is hurt a little bit. Anyway, we've gone Wines. I'm not labouring that decision too much. This is just an example side. And then we're going to fill out with rookies here because there's more guns and rookies. So we need to, you know, find some on-field rookies here. So we'll go McKercher, we'll go Sanders, the 2 I talked about, and then we'll go Hustwaite here as well, who was impressive on the weekend. And we'll fill out the bench with some names like Roberts, like, say, Sharp, well, nope, not that Sharp, and Clark. Of these, like Jai Clark is absolutely locked on my bench. There's no way that I won't have a team that has Jai Clark in it, and I wouldn't be surprised if he actually ended up being on-field, fieldable in matchups throughout the year as well. Roberts looks like he could be a very good cash generator, but it depends on how he's affected when Lloyd returns and he gets kind of pushed to that third half-back position. We saw with McKercher on the weekend, that can be a bit up and down. So, yeah, wait and see on round 0 for how that plays out. And then Sharp, yeah, I'm not a sold on Sharp. I know others, like Mini Monk are pretty hot on him. At least he's got a good price point, but I think, potentially gets pushed out of this side if I have cash for certain things, or I like other forward rookies more, for example. And then we're going to spend up here. We'll go English and Gone. So pay up for the big dogs. This is once again testing those assumptions that I had. And Naismith looks like he will be the R3 of choice. So yeah, Gone I already mentioned. No reason to go against him. And then English here is should be the number one ruck. I'm sure people might prefer Marshall, especially at the 80k discount. He's been improving. He finished last year hot. I can't remember exactly what the average was, but it was higher than the 114 that he's priced at. And obviously English has had the concussion or migraine concerns in the preseason. No soft tissue injury history though, which is good compared to last year. So I guess while his preseason would have been interrupted by the concussions, not by the soft tissue stuff, which is a positive. So yeah, we'll go English and go on. And then into the forward line here. So while this is guns and rookies, I don't think you can move away from Fisher as F1 here. You could go Flanders, obviously. But yeah, I mean, Fisher showed that he has keeper potential in that role. So I'm going to find it hard to move away from him. I'm going to fill out then with my mid prices in Jordan and Billings. You could put others in if you had other favorites, Fife, Harms. I just think those are probably the two that I like the most. And then we are going for Harley Reid. We're going Sexton. We'll go maybe a Lazaro. We'll go Wilson. And how much money I've got? Oh, I could go up to like a Windsor or something like that. We'll go Cadman, though. I still think I want to roll the dice on Cadman. Depends on how he goes round 0, but I like him. Especially what they play West Coast in the first 3. He's going to relief ruck against whoever's behind BJ Williams. He should get some nice ruck points for the relief time. Ooh, that could be scary. So yeah, I think this forward line obviously is very thin. Don't get me wrong, very thin. But Wilson showed that he could have on-field moments, or like on-field potential scoring throughout the year as well. So I like that. The 60k gives me a little bit of flexibility to move things around if I absolutely have to. Let's just... Well, we can hit save on that just so it filters everything automatically. Yeah, so this is like more of a guns and rookies team. It still feels more mid-price heavy than other years have been, but I feel like this is in the realm of, or in the style or spirit of that. I don't have enough to go from Dawson to Bont, do I? I probably would 10, 11k off. I mean, I guess if Naismith didn't play and we went down to a 102k, you could potentially put in Bont and English, get those top guys. So why have I done this? Because if you listen to my theories on SuperCoach, generally I like betting against the top price guys in each line, which would be Dacos, Bont, and English. Those are the 3 top price guys. And I'm actually going like, well, maybe I fit them all in my side this year. And the reason why is there's actually enough value elsewhere that I think being able to support that with a couple of guys right up the top that aren't necessarily value, but they're going to be up there, and a vice captain or captain makes sense. So I don't mind, maybe fitting in all 3 is a bit excessive, but fitting in at least 2 of those 3 is possible. And if you did say like Marshall rather than English, you could, do Marshall in your ruck and then Bont or something as your M1 here as well, as a bit of an option. You've got money to put Wines to Crouch if you wanted to, or something like that. Or is there even money for Steele? Just shy, but roughly there. So you could do something like that with this type of team. And going back to the template, like this is kind of what I'm talking about. So you've got your 4 premiums, you've got Zach Williams, 3 rookies, you've got Bont, Butters, and then I've got a 3rd primo in the side in LDU, but you could move that around to whoever your favorite is, whether it be Parrish, Goulden, Dawson, so be it. 2 mid prices in Martin and Wines, or Crouch, or Amon if you're into Amon. And then, yeah, I'm running 3 rookies plus the extras on the bench, for 6 total. This is dual premium rucks here as the question mark solver, and then 3 mid prices and rookies filled out. So once again, more guns and premium style side. Let's count keepers, shall we? Because that's what people do when they play guns and rookies. So you've got 4 in defense. You have, I think, 4 in the midfield. Wines probably isn't a keeper, but Martin would be in defense. So we've got another 4 there, so it takes up to 8. We've got 2 in the rucks, which Yeah, I mean, I guess you're betting against English all year if you do this, or you potentially trade into them as a luxury. But yeah, you've got 8, 10, and then maybe 11 with Fisher, which actually is like very few compared to prior years. It doesn't feel right. That is not very Guns and Rookie. Guns and Rookie is usually 12 or even 13. So yeah, you're getting 10, 11 if you count like one of Fisher or Wines. Between the two of them, maybe one of them ends up being a keeper. But yeah, this is Guns and Rookie style team. I think people might be more open to something like this as their starting side. All right, but that's probably not how I'm going to play it. We'll see. I actually do like this team the more I look at it. There's a lot of things that I think are really working for it, and one thing in particular which I probably underweighted is that it is best 18 for the first 4 of 6 weeks, which means you are dropping rookies like you 4 bad on-field scores from those first 6 weeks. And if you're more of a guns and rookie side than a mid-pricer side, you should end up getting ahead on points on field, despite the fact you lose some value. But by the time we're then upgrading at the end of that, where mid-price type of team might end up having advantage, you might have actually lost a lot of that over the first 6 weeks. So yeah, I'm moving back more towards this type of side than what I thought I would previously. Interesting. Actually, there's probably ways that you could actually make this even more safe in terms of number of premiums. Like I don't know, who can I afford? Parish. There you go. You could do that. That's taking out another, like adding in more premiums. So you do no Bont, you go Marshall, but that's 4, 9, 11. You maybe get 12. All right, so that's another variation of this side as well. All right. What am I thinking of though? What isn't this? Because this seems too sensible compared to how I've been talking in the preseason. So let's get a little bit crazy. Now, what I'm going to show you is a weird Excel spreadsheet. This one, I think. And what it is I've gone and pulled out all the players that I think are relevant and then pulled out what they're priced at, what their worthwhile average is. This is once again based on Jaden. No, it's not Popowski. Popowski. Damn it. Jaden, you're going to have to give me pronunciation lessons. Or I should actually go back and just watch the video where you teach me how to say your name properly, and then I should be a considerate individual and actually remember how to say it rather than being a fool. But anyway, I've gone and taken his great work and looked at what are each of these players priced at, what are the worthwhile averages in his system. I've excluded the buy consideration. There is buy worthwhile averages, which adds on an extra few points. It's probably not that much in reality, but to be aware of for those that do have buys, it's actually slightly higher than what's listed. And then I've just color-coded green for the ones that I think will probably get there, and everyone else's white is probably means that I'm either like lower confidence that they can get there or just like straight out don't believe they will. And then this kind of guides my decisions for where I think all the best value picks are, because if they're beating their worthwhile average, that means in most other years they're going to end up being an elite pick. Now, I'm probably overestimating the number that actually will hit it. I've probably got too much green on this page, and I will have got some wrong, but at least it gives you an idea for where I think the value is. And that then is going to dictate a more heavily value-based side. So there's like a lot of value that I potentially see in defense, and I could see myself, reasonably starting a side that has all of these. So Dacos, Stewart, Sheasel, Young. People are not going to be a fan, but I like what I saw out of Elliot Yeo. He played out full 4 quarters again. So lead CBA mid, basically the only one that can do anything in that midfield. Actually, Kelly and Reed weren't that bad, but actually we haven't really talked about that, but Gimby was missing, right? And his return will affect Reed in terms of CBA numbers, which will affect his scoring negatively. Yeah, one to consider. And then Zach Williams. So we could run something like this, which is very deep defense, much deeper than what most people are looking at, and then we can put in... I guess 2 of the cheaper ones and leave out Gibkiss, which might be a path if Gibkiss doesn't score very well in round 1. Moving into the midfielders. So yeah, there's a few here that I could see hitting it. I think the challenge is that a couple of these in Goulden, Green, Rose, not Rosie, but yeah, Goulden and Green both have... Actually, I'm not even sure I believe Rosie will hit his or Parish. These are probably generous. Maybe I just take both of these out. So yeah, like Goulden and Green both have buys, which negatively affects this. And then that really leaves me with three. Butters got injured, LDU's underperformed, and Bont I've been against all preseason. So what do I do with my mids? I don't like a lot of my mids. Oh, Miller's another one, but obviously he's got the preseason buy. And then there's a lot of these cheaper guys that I like. And just a note here. So Martin's got two worthwhile averages that I've put in here. So the 107 is what it would be required if he was a midfielder. The 102 is if he's a defender. So I'm confident he'll hit the 102 as a defender. I'm not sure he gets to 107, even though I've had predictions of him going 105 plus, and it's possible. Don't get me wrong, but I'm pretty confident on the 102. So yeah, what do I do with my midfield here? I like the mid prices. I don't like a lot of the top price guys. And just a note here: there's some of the cheaper guys down the bottom. I don't think Bono gets to a 90, and this may be too much because that's the 39 point increase. What with 35 points, if he goes in the mid 80s, I think that's probably good enough. Makes a lot of money, and you trade him on. So like that might be okay. And look, Dow, same thing. If he goes low 80s, if Berry goes into the mid 70s, they end up making a fair chunk of change while getting good points on field. So maybe the worthwhile averages here overstate what these players actually need to hit, and they might be okay as well. But I've left them off for now. So how do I actually build a midfield with all this then? I think I might go Bont, just so I've got Dacos and Bont as captain options. The preseason's not swaying me, by the way, in this. I'm still somewhat worried about Bont, that he did have a little bit of an interrupted preseason. But if I've got the money at the end of this, I might do it. LDU or Butters, I'll probably take one of them. Maybe both if we can fit it. I don't know. But let's just go Butters for now, but we'll play around with that. Martin... We'll go Crouch and we'll go Wines. I think all of these guys will outperform what they're priced at. Martin did have that halfback role. Crouch and Wines were lead CBA mids. They're under 30. Yeah. Crouch, yeah. Like it's crazy, right? And then what else am I doing with this midfield? I'm probably still going the same three rookies on field. So Sanders, McKercher, and Huswaite. Something like that. And then what do we have? Like Roberts, Sharp, Clark. Okay. I've got no idea if that's what I've got in mind. All right, anyway, that's fine. Let's see how we end up with cash. We might have to fiddle around with this as we go. Gorn is still locked in, and then I think I'm going to go Cherry here over Grundy. Doesn't have the buy. I've liked everything I've seen out of him. I was a believer in him last year. I feel like I should kind of just go back him up, but we get round 0 to see Grundy, and that could once again change his decision, especially if he looks good, scores well, all that type of stuff. Forward line, we're going Fisher. There's no way we're not. And then I think I'd just load up on the mid prices here. So we'll go all of Fife, Jordan, Billings, and then we'll just play it out with rookie. So Reed, Sexton, Wilson, and it looks like I'm just short of Lazaro money. So we might go like Cadman still, something like that. Leaves me with 42k, which I'm sure I could make some moves around with, or like if I put Bont down to LDU, that frees up what 90k. That would give me 130k. I could move Cherry up to Grundy in that situation. I could potentially get in Lazaro or something like that. But yeah, this is probably more what I would have lent towards at the end of the pre-season games, which is a bit more value-oriented than the other side I showed you before, than the guns and rookie side. So if we're going to go count keepers, which once again, I'm not sure is really the best way to do it, but I'd be including Yo in this. So I'd get 5 in defense, then 3 in the midfield. Once again, I don't think either Crouch or Wines ends up being keeper. So that's 8. Just the one ruck keeper here and gone, and then potentially Fisher. So this is only like 9 or 10, which is much fewer than we would ever have started with in SuperCoach in the past. And really, the extra trades and the value that this team would create would have to do a lot of heavy lifting. Now, the downside of this is, as I've mentioned, the best 18 buys for 4 of the first 6 weeks. And while playing more of a mid-price side maybe strengthens some of my on-field options because, I don't have Lazaro on field anymore. I've got Fife, which some people might not argue is a particularly big upgrade. And I don't have like a Caulfield on field anymore. I've got a Yo. So, those two players are kind of knocked off and put in maybe more solid mid-prices in Fife and Yo, the old injury guard. That helps you in best 22 rounds, but it doesn't necessarily help you in best 18 if those scores are going to get knocked off anyway. And so I just need to think about whether or not the extra value is worth maybe falling behind in some of those rounds towards the Guns and Rookie side. And then does the extra value that I get off the back of this end up giving me a really big advantage on the way home? Like, that's a big question mark. So a lot of people have been asking me for team updates, what it looks like, how I'm thinking, and hopefully that thought process has been useful for you. I'm not suggesting either of the formats that I showed you are right, nor am I very confident on any of them, but I wanted to just be as transparent as I could with how I'm thinking about picks, how I'm thinking about structures, what are the types of things that I'm looking at or enjoying at the moment. But this will continue to evolve as the week goes on, as we learn more about who's playing in round one and what we see from round zero, which I feel like I've caveated that way too much this time. And I'm sure anyone that's, been watching my videos knows that we'll keep iterating and adjusting as we go. But that's where I'm at. Please let me know what you think, how your teams are going, what questions you're struggling with or weighing up, and whether you found this useful. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one as always. Peace.